The galaxy had changed. In just a few days, the images and messages from Project Dawn had spread farther than anyone had imagined. The Dominion had tried to block the transmissions, to erase them, to deny the existence of humanity. But the truth could not be contained. Captain Mira Solon watched from her stealth ship as systems far beyond GalacticPrime flickered with human signals. Entire colonies, once silent under Dominion control, began to hum with whispers of hope. Merchants, explorers, and small governments started sharing what they saw, spreading the news like wildfire. The celebration of the Dominion was turning into panic. Their leaders realized, too late, that humanity was not defeated. In the Lorne Expanse, Admiral Keon Ardent stood on the bridge of the flagship Dawnbreaker, surrounded by officers and engineers. Lights from the nebula danced across the walls, casting soft blue reflections on every face. "Reports are coming in from every system," Lyra said, her fingers moving quickly across the console. "Ships that were hiding, colonies that were silent. They're all responding. Humanity's message has reached hundreds of thousands across the galaxy." Ardent nodded, calm but determined. "This is what we waited for. The Dominion has relied on fear for years. Now that fear is gone, doubt has entered their hearts." Mira's voice came over the comms. "Admiral, I've reached the edge of their capital system. The signals are strong. Some stations are already rebroadcasting our message." Ardent smiled. "Good. Prepare the fleet. It's time for humanity to step out of hiding." The Rebirth fleet had been waiting for this day for 6 years. Thousands of ships hidden inside the nebula now powered their engines in unison. They moved silently, avoiding Dominion patrols, but each vessel carried the hope and skill of humanity. Mira led a small squadron ahead, scouting the path. The stars were cold and dark, but each human ship glimmered like a spark of light. The fleet was not just a force of war. It was a symbol of endurance. "Ready all communications," Ardent ordered. "We do not strike. We broadcast. We show the galaxy who we are. Our goal is not destruction. It is truth." Every officer and crew member understood. This was humanity's statement. We are alive and we will be remembered. In the capital of the Dominion, confusion reigned. Screens had been filled with human ships, faces, cities, and voices speaking truth that no one could deny. Citizens whispered to one another. Soldiers paused in their patrols. Even some high-ranking officers began to doubt their leaders. Chancellor Vorex pounded his fist on the table. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Every human fleet was destroyed. Every colony eliminated." An officer hesitated. "Sir, the transmissions, they are coming from everywhere. Systems previously thought secure are showing human activity." Vorex's glass-like skin flickered red with anger. "Impossible. They should be extinct. Do not let this spread." But it was already too late. Humanity's voice had entered the hearts and minds of the galaxy. The illusion of total control was gone. Mira and the fleet moved closer to the Dominion core systems. The stealth ships glimmered like reflections in space, invisible until they revealed themselves. Each ship carried advanced communication arrays, capable of transmitting human messages, art, music, and history to anyone willing to listen. Through the fleet's broadcast, alien species that had never known humans began to see their ingenuity, courage, and endurance. The Lorne Expanse had been a secret, yes, but now it was a symbol, a hidden sanctuary that humanity could no longer be erased from. "We are alive," Mira's voice repeated across the galaxy. "We endure, we adapt, and we will not be forgotten." In the Dominion's capital, Virel citizens watched as human ships appeared in orbit above their cities. They were not attacking. They did not fire weapons. They moved like giants of light, graceful, powerful, and calm. A young Virel officer whispered to his comrade, "Are they alive?" "Yes," the comrade replied, voice trembling. "They survived, and they're not here to fight. Yet." The images of human children, human engineers, human soldiers, and scientists filled every screen. Everywhere the Dominion looked, they could no longer ignore the truth. Humanity had endured, and its people were more than what anyone had imagined. Mira docked at a small orbital station near the Dominion capital. She walked through the hangar of her stealth ship, feeling the eyes of her fleet and crew on her. Every face carried hope, pride, and courage. They had waited decades for this moment, the moment when humanity would reclaim its place among the stars, not with vengeance, but with truth. Ardent met her at the station. "The galaxy is listening," he said. "Every corner of Dominion space has seen our fleet. Every voice in occupied colonies has heard the truth. Humanity's shadow has turned into light." Mira nodded. "They celebrated too soon. Their illusion is shattered." Ardent smiled. "And soon they will know that hope cannot be erased." The Dominion leadership panicked. Systems that had once been under strict control began communicating with each other in secret. Citizens who had obeyed orders without question now debated openly. Doubt spread faster than fire. Some Virel soldiers refused to attack humans. Others began helping transmit human signals to the outer colonies. Entire factions within the Dominion began to question their rulers. The age of unchallenged control was over. Meanwhile, Mira and the fleet continued their mission. They moved from system to system, not destroying, not enslaving, but showing the galaxy humanity's truth. Cities that had been abandoned were reactivated with human technology. Trade routes that had been silent now carried goods and messages from human-controlled sectors. Everywhere the fleet went, they inspired others, alien species, humans in hiding, even some former Virel citizens. The galaxy had seen power and victory before, but never courage in the face of annihilation. Humanity had shown that survival and intelligence could change the universe without a single shot fired. Weeks passed and the Dominion tried to fight back. Their fleets moved to intercept human ships. Patrols scanned the skies, yet wherever the humans went, their presence inspired resistance, unity, and cooperation among the oppressed. Every attack they avoided became a lesson in ingenuity. Every city they revealed became a beacon of hope. Mira understood this. The goal was not to conquer but to awaken, to show that no empire, however proud, could erase the courage of an entire species. Finally, Mira stood on the command deck of the flagship Dawnbreaker, looking at the galaxy that had begun to change. Systems that had once been silent now sang with new voices. Children of all species looked up at the stars with hope. Traders moved freely across borders. Scientists shared discoveries once hidden. Humanity had returned, not as conquerors, not as vengeful warriors, but as a reminder that courage, intelligence, and hope are stronger than fear, pride, or lies. Admiral Ardent spoke quietly beside her. "You've done it, Captain. You've shown the galaxy that humans cannot be destroyed. Not by war, not by lies, not by fear." Mira looked at the stars beyond the station. They celebrated too soon, but now, the galaxy knows the truth. Humanity's age is only beginning. In the Dominion's capital, Chancellor Vorex addressed his council. His skin flickered with every color of rage and disbelief. "The humans, they're alive everywhere. Our networks are overwhelmed. Our citizens are questioning us." An officer tried to calm him. "Perhaps we can negotiate, Chancellor." Vorex shook his head. "Negotiate? No, we underestimated them. Humanity is not just a species. They are a force of endurance, and we are the ones who are broken." The illusion of victory had ended. Far in the Lorne expanse, Mira sent one final message to her fleet. "The galaxy remembers. Our time is now. Humanity's return is not about war. It is about hope, courage, and truth. We endure, and the stars themselves will never forget us." The fleet answered in unison, engines lighting up softly against the mist of the nebula. Thousands of ships glimmered like a constellation brought to life. Humanity's hidden armada was no longer hidden. The galaxy had seen it. The galaxy had felt it, and in every system, on every world, the echo of one human's courage, Captain Mira Solon, inspired a new age. The Dominion could no longer pretend. Humanity had returned, and the universe would never be the same. The planet Virelia once shone like a jewel in the dark of space. Its oceans glimmered with silver light, and its twin moons watched over peaceful cities that floated in the sky. The Virelians, a gentle and thoughtful species, were proud of their harmony. For thousands of years, they had built a world free from war and greed. They believed their peace would last forever. But forever was shorter than they imagined. It began with the fading of the stars. One by one, the lights that filled their night sky began to dim. The Virelians first thought it was a cosmic event, something their scientists could study and explain. Yet the darkness kept spreading. Space itself seemed to bend and twist, swallowing entire systems. Communication beacons went silent. Trade routes collapsed. Whole colonies stopped responding. Panic came quietly at first, like a whisper carried by the wind. High Counselor Seren Alor, A wise leader with silver markings on her temples stood in the grand hall, staring at the holographic map of their galaxy. Entire sectors blinked out of existence. The cause was unknown, and even their best minds could not find a reason. Some said it was a cosmic storm. Others believed it was punishment from the universe for their pride. But Seren only felt sorrow. "We have always trusted knowledge," she said softly to her council. "Now we must trust hope." Her people tried to flee. They sent distress calls to every known species in the Galactic Union, begging for help. Some races replied with sympathy but could offer nothing. Others ignored them completely. The darkness moved too fast. The Union itself was falling apart as worlds vanished into silent nothingness. Weeks turned to months. Soon, Virelia became the last light in their system. The stars around them were gone, leaving only blackness and silence. The twin moons still circled faithfully, but the sun was fading too, losing warmth each day. Crops began to die. Power systems weakened. The once bright skies turned gray. Children asked their parents, "Will the light come back?" No one knew the answer. Seren stood at the edge of the central tower, feeling the thin, cold air brush her face. She closed her eyes, listening to the sound of the wind. It reminded her of an old story, one told by explorers who had long ago met a young race from a distant blue planet. They had called them humans. Humans were small in number, the story said, but strong in spirit. They had no great fleets or advanced technology then, yet they possessed something rare, an endless will to survive and to help others survive too. But those stories were centuries old. No one had heard from humanity in generations. When Seren mentioned them in the council meeting, most dismissed the idea. "Humans?" one elder said. "They were dreamers, not saviors." "Even if they still exist," another added, "why would they come for us? We are already lost." Seren did not answer. She only looked at the dim sky and whispered, "Because they would not let anyone face the end alone." The council finally approved a desperate measure, one last message, to be sent across the stars, an ancient, broadcast frequency once shared with humanity. It was their final hope, even though no one believed it would reach anyone. The transmission was simple and honest. "This is Virelia of the Galactic Union. Our stars are fading. Our sun is dying. We have no power left to fight the darkness. If anyone hears this, please do not forget us." After the message, silence returned. Days passed. Then weeks. The darkness crept closer, like a great shadow swallowing everything it touched. One evening, Seren sat alone in the observatory, watching the faint sun sink below the horizon. Her assistant Terran entered quietly. "Counselor, the outer shield has failed," he said. "Our energy reserves will last only 10 more rotations." Seren nodded. "Then we will face the night with dignity." Terran hesitated. "Do you think anyone heard the message?" She smiled sadly. "Hope is a strange thing, Terran. It burns brightest when the world grows dark." That night, for the first time, she prayed, not to gods, but to the endless universe. She prayed that somewhere someone would listen. A flicker in the void far beyond the dying Virelian system, in a quiet corner of the Milky Way, a small relay satellite caught a faint signal. It was ancient, weak, and almost unreadable, but the symbol at the end of the message, the spiral mark of the Galactic Union, caught the attention of a human technician named Alara Finch aboard the orbital research station. K7, she replayed the message again and again, adjusting filters until words began to form. Stars fading. "Please do not forget us." Alara froze. "Oh my." She immediately contacted her commander, Captain Noah Reyes, a calm but determined man who had spent years mapping abandoned star routes. Within minutes, the message was on every screen aboard the station. The crew gathered around in silence as the faint alien voice played again. "Where did this come from?" someone asked. "Deep space," Alara replied. "It's old, at least several decades, maybe more. But the signal pattern, it's still active." Captain Reyes looked thoughtful. "Someone out there is still trying." A long pause filled the room. Humanity had changed since the early days of the Galactic Union. They were stronger now, small in territory but known for their resilience and cooperation. While many advanced civilizations had fallen into isolation, humans had continued to build, learn, and reach out. Reyes finally spoke. "Prepare a reply. Even if they're gone, we answer." Ilara nodded and opened the old comms frequency. Her fingers trembled slightly as she typed the response. "This is the United Earth Alliance. We received your signal. We hear you, hold on. You are not forgotten." When the transmission was sent, silence followed once more. But this time it felt different, alive, full of purpose. Captain Reyes turned to his crew. "We'll need to trace the origin of that signal. Find where it came from and how far." Ilara's console flashed with coordinates. "It's in the outer Orion sector, extremely unstable region. But there's something else. The source seems to be moving, almost as if their star system is collapsing inward." Reyes exhaled slowly. "Then we don't have much time." The last light back on Virelia, days turned colder. The cities had shut down their sky platforms to conserve energy. Families gathered in their homes, sharing stories by dim lanterns. The once bright sky was now a dull silver fog. Serene stood again at the observation deck, thinking the end had truly come. But then a faint sound reached her ears. A technician rushed in. "Counselor, the deep space array just detected a signal." Her heart skipped. "From where?" The technician's voice shook with disbelief. "From beyond the dark. It says you are not forgotten." For a long moment no one spoke. Tears welled in Serene's eyes. "They heard us," she whispered. "Someone heard us." All across Virelia, people gathered as the message was replayed again and again. The words were short, but they carried warmth greater than sunlight. Even as the world continued to fade, hearts began to glow with a fragile but real hope. Terran asked, "Who would send such a message?" "The Union is gone." Serene smiled faintly. "Maybe not everyone, maybe the humans." And somewhere across the endless dark, aboard the human starship preparing for departure, Captain Reyes said quietly, "Let's bring back the light." The message from Virelia spread across the United Earth Alliance like a spark through dry air. For the first time in many years, all human stations and colonies felt a shared purpose. A world was calling for help, an old ally long thought lost to time, and humanity could not ignore that voice. At the orbital station K7, the crew worked tirelessly. Screens glowed with star maps, navigation charts, and energy readings. Engineers whispered to one another, adjusting frequencies and calibrating long-range drives. The faint signal from Virelia was unstable, often breaking into static, but the coordinates were clear enough to trace. The journey would take them through uncharted regions, places few ships had ever entered. Captain Noah Reyes stood at the center of the command bridge, looking out at the curved blue surface of Earth below. "It's a long way," he said quietly, "and there's no guarantee they're still alive." Ilara Finch, the communications officer, replied with calm determination. "They sent a message. That means someone is still hoping. That's enough reason to go." The rest of the crew agreed. There was something about the signal, a quiet desperation mixed with dignity that touched every heart on the station. Even the younger crew members, who had only heard stories about the Galactic Union, felt a strange connection to the distant world. Within days, the Alliance authorized a mission. It would be called Operation Beacon. The objective: reach the Virelian system, assess their condition, and provide aid. The ship chosen for the task was the UES Solace, a long-range exploration vessel designed for endurance rather than war. It was a symbol of peace and compassion, perfect for this mission. Its hull was polished silver, reflecting the light of distant stars. Inside, hundreds of crew members prepared supplies, food modules, atmosphere stabilizers, and energy cores that could reignite a dying sun for a short time. Departure. On the morning of departure, the Solace hovered in orbit above Earth. The planet looked small and bright, surrounded by the deep black of space. Captain Reyes walked along the viewing deck, watching as the crew checked the systems one last time. Ilara approached him holding a small device. "It's ready," she said. "The original Virelian message and our reply are stored together. I thought it might remind us why we're going." Reyes smiled slightly. "Keep it playing in the background. I want the crew to hear it when things get hard." When the engines came alive, the sound was soft but powerful. Light rippled across the hull like waves. The stars stretched into lines as the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind the comfort of home. Through the shadow zone, the journey began smoothly. For weeks, the Solace passed through quiet regions of space filled with drifting dust and forgotten satellites. But the closer they came to the Virelian coordinates, the darker everything became. The stars that once filled the view screens began to fade, one by one, replaced by endless black. Navigation sensors flickered and energy readings dropped without explanation. It was as if they were sailing into a cosmic sea of shadows. "This is strange," Ilara murmured as she studied her console. "Even radiation levels are lower than normal. It's like light itself is being swallowed." Captain Reyes nodded. "Keep scanning. We can't turn back now." The crew grew quieter each passing day. Outside, the universe looked empty, stripped of its beauty. Yet deep inside, every human heart aboard the Solace burned with steady courage. They knew they were moving toward someone who had already lost almost everything. To keep morale high, the captain held daily gatherings in the common hall. They shared stories of early human explorers, men and women who had sailed oceans before the age of spaceflight. They faced storms and unknown lands, Reyes reminded them. "We face the same, only our ocean is bigger." One night, Ilara received a faint transmission. It was filled with static, but a single phrase broke through. "Sun fading, but still waiting." Her eyes widened. "Captain, it's them again, the Virelians." The bridge came alive with activity. The signal was weak, but it meant one thing. Virelia still existed. Hope spread through the crew like sunlight breaking through clouds. Virelia's last days far away. On the fading world of Virelia, High Counselor Saren Alor stood beside her assistant Terran in the main control chamber. The great crystal dome above them was cracked, letting in the cold light of their dying sun. Energy levels were critically low. Many cities had already gone dark, but the people remained calm, holding on to the single message that had changed everything. "You are not forgotten." Every child could now repeat those words by heart. They painted them on walls, whispered them to the wind, and sent them into the skies with tiny solar kites. For the Virelians, those words had become a promise. When the new signal from space arrived, confirming that the humans were coming, the whole planet rejoiced. Bells rang in the capital towers. Families gathered outside, holding lanterns high even though there was little light to reflect. Terran looked at Saren with tears in his eyes. "They are really coming." "The humans. They're crossing the dark." Saren smiled softly. "Then we must be ready to welcome them. Let us prepare the landing fields and the energy docks. We will meet them with honor." Even as the last reserves of power flickered, the Virelians worked with quiet determination. Their faith in the unseen visitors gave them strength. They cleaned the city streets, repaired communication towers, and polished the ancient glass domes that once caught sunlight. They wanted the humans to see that even in despair, Virelia stood proud. Approaching the edge back on the Solace, the sensors began to detect faint energy fluctuations ahead. The navigation officer announced, "We're approaching the boundary of the dark region, Captain. Beyond this point, all known maps end." Reyes looked out at the window. "Then this is where we make history." The ship moved forward, engines glowing softly. As they crossed the boundary, the darkness around them seemed alive, swirling gently like mist. The crew watched in awe as small streams of light appeared, remnants of dying stars forming fragile ribbons across space. "Beautiful," Ilara whispered. "It's like the universe is trying to guide us." Then at last the sensors picked up a planetary signal. The coordinates matched the original distress message. The ship's computer confirmed it. Virelia was still there. A cheer erupted through the bridge. For weeks they had sailed through emptiness, not knowing what awaited them. Now the light of purpose filled every heart. Reyes smiled, his voice firm but warm. "Prepare for approach. Begin transmission." Ilara's hands shook slightly as she activated the comms. "This is the United Earth vessel Solace calling the planet Virelia. We received your signal. We are here." A light returns on Virelia. The message echoed through the central towers. For a moment no one moved. Then, as if the entire planet took a single breath, joy burst across the cities. People ran into the open plazas, lifting their hands toward the dark sky. Saren looked upward. Above the fading clouds, a tiny gleam appeared, a single star moving where no stars had been for months. Terran pointed, his voice trembling. "There, look! A ship." The people of Virelia watched in wonder as the light grew brighter. The Solace descended slowly through the dim atmosphere, its hull glowing gold from re-entry. It was the most beautiful sight they had seen in generations. When the ship landed on the prepared fields, soft dust rose in gentle waves. The Virelians gathered in silence, too moved to speak. The air shimmered as the landing ramp extended. Captain Reyes stepped out first, followed by Ilara and a small group of crew members. They looked around at the pale landscape, the cracked towers, the quiet seas, and then at the crowd of elegant, silver-skinned beings standing before them. Seren Alor walked forward, her long robes flowing like water. Her voice was calm but full of emotion. "You came." Reyes bowed his head slightly. "You called for help. Humanity always answers." For a long moment there was only silence, broken by the soft hum of the ship. Then Seren smiled. "Welcome to Virelia, friends from the stars." Behind them the fading sun seemed to shine a little brighter, as if even it wanted to witness the return of hope. For the first time in many months the skies of Virelia glowed with light. It was not the warmth of their fading sun, but the shining reflection of the human ship Solace, resting gently on the plains near the capital city. The people of Virelia gathered around in wonder, their faces filled with disbelief and joy. They had imagined this moment many times, yet reality felt like a dream. Captain Noah Reyes stood at the edge of the ramp, looking out at the alien world. The air was thin, and the sky had a soft gray color that reminded him of dawn on Earth. Beside him, Ilara Finch adjusted her communication tablet, recording everything for history. The first contact between humanity and Virelia in over 3 centuries began with a single shared smile. High Counselor Seren Alor stepped forward with her assistant Terran and a group of Virelian elders. Their silver markings shimmered faintly in the dim light. Serene bowed her head slightly, her expression calm but deeply emotional. "Welcome, travelers from the Blue World," she said softly. "We did not know if our message would reach anyone. Yet here you are." Reyes smiled. "We heard your call, Counselor. Humanity does not forget its friends." A gentle wave of warmth spread through the Virelian crowd. They repeated the word humanity, like a melody they had once known but long forgotten. Some of them even wept quietly, their tears glimmering under the gray light. The first meeting, inside the great hall of Virelia's capital, soft lights flickered as the humans and Virelians gathered around a circular table made of crystal and metal. The room had once been powered by solar energy, but now it ran on the Solace's portable fusion batteries. It was the first time light had filled that room in many years. Seren began the meeting with a short greeting. "We are honored by your presence, Captain Reyes. Your people have given us hope again." Reyes replied with equal respect. "And we are honored to stand here. We came because your message reminded us of what it means to be human, and to be alive." Ilara showed holographic displays of the supplies and technology they had brought. The humans had packed energy modules, environmental stabilizers, and food synthesizers that could adapt to Virelian biology. When she explained how each device worked, the Virelians listened with amazement. Terran leaned forward, eyes wide. "You brought power back to share it with us?" Ilara smiled. "Yes, enough to restore your cities and maybe even your son's stability if we work together." The room went silent for a moment. Then Seren said softly, "We once believed no one could cross the darkness. Yet here you stand carrying light." Reyes looked around the hall. "We crossed it because light doesn't belong to one world. It belongs to everyone who refuses to give up." The translator device repeated his words in the Virelian tongue. When the meaning reached their ears, many of the Virelians placed their hands over their hearts, a gesture of deep gratitude in their culture. Working together days passed quickly. Humans and Virelians began to work side by side. The Solace's engineers installed new energy cores across the capital, while Virelian scientists helped them understand the strange energy field that was consuming their system. The two species shared knowledge freely, learning from one another like old friends reunited after ages apart. Children from both sides watched the work with wide eyes. They followed the engineers, asking questions, touching the shining metal tools and laughing whenever something glowed or sparked. The laughter brought new life to the city's streets. Ilara spent most of her time in the main control tower, studying the patterns of the fading sun. It pulsed weakly, releasing uneven waves of light. "It's like the heart of the system is slowing down," she explained to Seren. "If we can feed it stabilized energy, it might recover." Seren listened carefully. "We will help in any way we can." She looked out the window at the horizon. Even though the light was dim, there was beauty in the silver clouds and distant mountains. For the first time in a long while, she felt that her world still had a future. Meanwhile, Captain Reyes met with Virelia's engineers to plan the construction of a stellar bridge, a large orbital structure that could channel the Solace's reactor energy directly into the planet's core. It was a bold plan, but humanity had always believed in bold dreams. Terran studied the design and said, "This is beyond anything we have done before." Reyes replied, "That's what we said once too, before we reached the stars." Moments of understanding as the days turned into weeks. The bond between the two species grew stronger. Virelians were gentle and wise, while humans were practical and full of determination. Together, they balanced each other perfectly. One evening, as the teams rested by the landing fields, Seren and Reyes walked among the quiet lights of the city. The stars above were faint, but a few still shone stubbornly through the darkness. Seren said quietly, "When the stars began to fade, many of my people believed the universe had given up on us. I feared they were right, but then, you came." Reyes looked up at the stars. "We've been through dark times too. Back on Earth, there were centuries when we almost lost hope. But every time someone stood up and said, 'Not yet.' Maybe that's what connects us all, the refusal to stop trying." Seren smiled. "Then perhaps hope is the true light of the universe." The two leaders stood in silence for a while, watching as the faint glow of the Solace reflected off the clouds. It was a quiet, peaceful moment, one that both would remember for the rest of their lives. The hidden mystery. One morning, Ilara noticed something strange in the data coming from the sun. The energy readings did not match natural decay patterns. Instead, they formed a repeating rhythm, almost like a signal. She called the captain and Seren to the control room. "Look at this," she said, pointing at the holographic display. "These waves are too organized to be random. It's as if something is inside the star, something artificial." Seren frowned. "Inside the sun?" "Yes," Ilara replied. "Or perhaps beneath its outer layers. Something is draining its energy." The room went silent. Terran looked uncertain. Could it be a natural phenomenon? Reyes shook his head. "If it were, we would see chaos in the readings. This pattern is precise. Someone or something caused this." Seren's expression turned thoughtful. "Long ago, our ancestors spoke of a machine buried within the sun, a relic from an older civilization. We believed it was only a legend. Maybe it wasn't," Ilara said. "If that machine is still active, it might be consuming the sun's life." Reyes took a deep breath. "Then our mission just changed. We're not only here to help you survive, we're here to find the cause. A plan for the impossible." The discovery of the signal filled both humans and Virelians with a new kind of determination. They decided to investigate the source together. The Solace's scientists built a set of solar probes equipped with reinforced shielding and advanced sensors. Virelian engineers contributed their knowledge of local stellar physics, ensuring the devices could withstand the heat and gravity near the sun. When the first probe was launched, the entire city watched. It rose into the sky like a small spark, leaving a golden trail behind it. The people held their breath as it disappeared into the haze. Minutes turned to hours as the probe sent back data. Then suddenly a sharp tone echoed through the control chamber. Ilara's eyes widened. "It's real. There's a massive structure at the sun's core, made of unknown material." The image that appeared on the display showed a faint outline of something mechanical, buried deep within the solar layers. It was enormous, perhaps older than both their civilizations combined. Seren whispered, "Our ancestors called it the Heart of Flame. They said it was placed there by the first travelers, long before our world was born." Reyes looked at the display. "Maybe it was never meant to harm. Maybe it just needs repair." Ilara nodded. "If we can stabilize it, the sun might recover." The task ahead was enormous, almost impossible. But neither humans nor Virelians were ready to give up. Together they began designing the solar restoration plan, a joint mission to reactivate the Heart of Flame and save Virelia's star. Hope renewed that night. As preparations began, the people of Virelia gathered once more under the dim sky. The humans joined them, lighting lanterns across the plains. From orbit, the Solace shone like a second moon above the horizon, its light reaching even the farthest villages. Children pointed upward, laughing and shouting. The humans brought the stars back. Seren watched them with tears in her eyes. They truly did. Reyes stood beside her holding a small glowing orb, a symbol of the Solace's light. "We came because you reminded us what humanity means. And now together we'll remind the universe what hope can do. As the twin moons rose over Viralia, their soft light mixed with the glow of human lanterns. For the first time in centuries, the world felt alive again. The darkness still surrounded them, but it no longer felt endless. Because in that quiet night, two civilizations stood together, different in form, but united in spirit, ready to face the impossible. The first light of the human-engineered probes glimmered against the dim Virelian sky as the city watched. Every Virelian and human working together knew this was more than a mission. It was a test of faith, ingenuity, and the bond between two civilizations. The Heart of Flame, the mysterious structure buried deep within Virelia's sun, awaited them, and if it could be stabilized, life on the planet would have a second chance. Captain Noah Reyes stood on the bridge of the UES Solace, surrounded by human engineers and Virelian scientists. The solar probes were transmitting data, forming a three-dimensional map of the core. The structure was massive, geometric in design, and radiated energy in patterns that suggested intelligence. Every pulse seemed rhythmic, almost musical in nature. "This is beyond anything we've ever seen," whispered Alara Finch, scanning the streams of data. "It's like the sun itself has a heartbeat, and this machine is shaping it." Taryn, the Virelian engineer, leaned closer. "The legends were true. Our ancestors spoke of the Heart of Flame, but none believed it existed. How do we repair something this old?" Reyes looked at both of them. "Step by step. That's all we can do." He turned to the assembled team. "We'll stabilize its energy output first. Once the pulse is steady, we can synchronize it with our energy modules. The sun has survived for millions of years. With guidance, it can continue to shine." The room fell silent. Each person present understood the stakes. Failure could mean the end of Virelia. Success could restore not just a planet but hope itself. First contact with the heart. The first probes reached the outer layer of the sun. Sensors strained against the heat, but the data was clear. The Heart of Flame was made of material that glowed faintly blue and emitted pulses that could be felt as vibrations through the probes. "Ilara," Reyes said, "can the energy modules stabilize the pulse from this distance?" She shook her head. "Not fully. We'll need to create a relay chain directly into the core. It's risky, but I believe it's possible." The Virelians contributed a solution of their own, a series of crystalline amplifiers that could resonate with the heart's frequency. When attached to the human energy modules, they would create a bridge of stabilized energy from the surface to the sun's core. Taryn worked tirelessly, adjusting the crystals and fine-tuning the resonance. Every step required patience, precision, and trust. Both humans and Virelians learned from each other, blending technology and science in ways neither species had imagined. Finally, the first relay was activated. A thin blue thread of energy extended from the surface of Virelia into the sun. The Heart of Flame responded immediately, pulsing brighter and faster. The team held their breath. This was the first connection after centuries of darkness, challenges, and ingenuity. The heart's pulse was strong, but it was unstable. Every few minutes it would flutter as though unsure of its purpose. Energy readings spiked, and the team worked to adjust the resonance, keeping the heart calm. "We need to synchronize with its rhythm," Alara explained. "It's alive in a sense. We can guide it, not force it." The Virelian engineers shared their ancestral knowledge of stellar resonance patterns, long forgotten except in myths. Taryn and Seren combined this knowledge with human technology. Together they found the correct harmonic frequency. As the days passed, small victories began to appear. The heart's pulses stabilized for longer intervals. The sun regained some warmth. Clouds lifted over Virelia, and the dim gray sky slowly brightened with soft golden light. Children ran through the streets once again, laughing and marveling at the sunlight returning. Even the oldest citizens paused to smile. The humans working alongside them felt an unexpected joy. They were not just travelers from another world. They were part of this planet's revival. The heart speaks one night. As the team monitored the heart's energy flow, the structure emitted a pattern unlike any before. The pulses seemed to form a rhythm similar to a melody. Sensors recorded fluctuations that could almost be interpreted as communication. "Alara, read this," Reyes instructed. Alara studied the data. "It's astonishing. I've never seen a machine operate this way. It's sending patterns that could be a language, or maybe signals of acknowledgement." Seren looked in wonder. "Our ancestors wrote about this. They said the Heart of Flame responds to care and intention. Perhaps it recognizes us helping it. Reyes nodded. Then it seems our cooperation is not only saving the sun, it's awakening something much older, something alive in its own way. The heart pulsed brighter than before, and for the first time in centuries, the sun's warmth touched Virelia's surface in a comforting, steady stream. Plants began to thrive again. Energy flowed freely through the cities. People stepped outside to feel the light on their skin, gasping at its brilliance. Even in the darkest moments of despair, hope had returned. A lesson in unity. Captain Reyes called a meeting for both humans and Virelians. "What we're doing here," he said, "shows what can happen when different species work together. You taught us patience and insight. We brought tools and ideas. Alone we might have failed, but together we've restored a star." Terran added, "We have learned more than science. We've learned trust and resilience. Even in darkness there is a way forward." Ilara smiled. "This is what makes us strong. Not technology alone, not experience alone. It's the combination of hearts and minds, of will and wisdom." The people of Virelia cheered. Children waved small glowing orbs representing the sun's light. They had witnessed history, a planet brought back from the brink, a sun renewed, and two civilizations united in purpose. The first festival. With the sun's light slowly stabilizing, Virelia held a festival of renewal. Humans and Virelians walked side by side, celebrating their shared achievement. Lanterns floated in the sky, reflecting the soft sunlight. Music filled the streets, blending human instruments with Virelian harmonics. Serene and Reyes stood together, watching children run through the crowd. "You've done something incredible," Saren said. "No," Reyes replied. "We've done it together. You could not have succeeded alone. Humanity simply came to help." The festival continued long into the evening. For many, it felt like the first real celebration in a millennium. The joy of life, the warmth of the sun, and the promise of tomorrow blended into a moment they would never forget. Even the heart of flame seemed to pulse with a new rhythm, harmonizing with the song of life across the planet. It was no longer a machine buried in darkness. It was a living symbol of hope, unity, and renewal, looking ahead. As the celebration ended, Captain Reyes gathered the human crew. "We've done more than save a planet. We've proven that when we reach out to help others, we create connections that last across generations." Ilara nodded. "And the heart. It's stable now, but it will need continued care. This is only the beginning of a new era." Reyes looked toward Virelia's cities, now glowing with sunlight and energy. "Then we stay until it's safe. Humanity doesn't leave friends behind." Saren approached him. "Your people are remarkable. We will never forget this day or your kindness." Reyes smiled. "Neither will we. This is what makes us human, the courage to stand for others, even when it seems impossible," Terran added. "And this is what makes us Virelian, the wisdom to accept help and work together to create life again." The two civilizations shared a quiet moment of understanding, a mutual respect that would grow stronger with time. Beyond the horizon, the heart of flame pulsed steadily, lighting the sun and promising a future once more. End of Part 4. Next, Part 5, The Dawn of a New Age. I can continue with Part 5, 1,300 words, to bring this story to a satisfying, uplifting conclusion. Do you want me to do that now? You said, Part 5, 1,300 words ka lekho or interesting huna chahiye or third-person style ma lekhni hai or simple basic English ka. Don't use any violated word. So please avoid any violated content. ChatGPT said absolutely. Here is Part 5, the final part of your HFY sci-fi story. They thought it was finished until humanity came to our aid. Written in third person, simple English, inspiring and fully clean and non-violent. Part 5, The Dawn of a New Age. The first true dawn in centuries broke over Virelia, bathing the cities in golden sunlight. The twin moons, still hovering in their familiar paths, reflected the warmth of a sun now steady and bright. Birds, long absent from the skies, took flight once more, filling the air with gentle songs. Even the oceans, now shimmering silver under the morning light, seemed to breathe again. For the Virelians, it was more than a return of the sun. It was a return of life, hope, and possibility. They had survived the darkness not alone, but with the aid of strangers from a distant world. Captain Noah Reyes stood atop the central plaza, looking over the crowd gathered to witness the new dawn. His human crew stood beside him, sharing in the wonder. Children waved tiny light crystals, their faces bright with joy. High Counselor Seren Alor approached him, her silver markings gleaming in the sunlight. "You came when we believed no one would," she said. "You reminded us that hope can travel across the stars." Reyes shook his head gently. "We didn't come to save a planet alone. We came because helping is what we do. Humanity reaches out because we know the value of life, of others, of hope." Seren smiled softly. "Then your presence here is more than aid. It is a lesson. Renewal of the planet." In the weeks that followed, humans and Varelians worked together to de-star.